New York gunman had manifesto railing against health insurance. We got some funny memes to look at if y'all want to stick around for that. Coming up here fairly soon. We're going to be taking a look at this New York gunman and the madness, telling us a lot about the West today, just like Penny is, another incident. The response to this, the anti-whites are coming out in droves to love this guy. Kill all the CEOs, they're saying. Nothing happening to them. They're saying kill all the CEOs, not losing their accounts. They're starting videos, making videos where they're talking about how hot they think this guy is, and they want to have sex with him. A lot of guys who are attracted to guys saying that about this. And he struck me immediately, Luigi Mangione, Mangina. He struck me immediately as a guy who likes guys, and maybe increasingly that's coming out. His book list is out there, and he definitely looks like the kind of guy that likes guys. It was discovered that after he committed the murder, he frantically listened to Taylor Swift and Britney Spears. That's what he was jamming out to after committing the murder. And to the question earlier in the roll-in, since he has been in the hands of the authorities, he pissed himself. Maybe you all heard that when he was approached by the rookie police officer and asked if he had been in New York recently, he started shaking. And big hero. What really happened with this guy? Well, man charged with brazenly gunning down top health insurance CEO in New York carried a handwritten manifesto that sucked. Let me just take a step back. The Mangione family, Towson, Maryland. You know, I lived kind of close to there one time. Towson, Maryland, they made tons of money off of senior citizen living facilities, I believe. Interestingly enough, Luigi's grandfather was a very good friend of Nancy Pelosi's father. And so Luigi comes from a filthy rich family. And doesn't this begin to like fit the model of so many of the anti-white, psychotic, whitish, in this case, activists, murderers, anarchists, destroyers of Western civilization? Here is another child of wealth, coddled from babyhood, sent to a prestigious all-boys, which I'm sure he really enjoyed, all-boys high school, where he was valedictorian, which means that he has a good memory. Everybody's out there saying, oh, he's a genius. His behavior was not the behavior of a genius. But he had a good memory, went on to UPenn, got a degree, 2 degrees from UPenn, and became a coder, worked in computer science, moved around a bunch, ended up living in Hawaii in like a commune of men, a commune of guys. And they just had, what was the guy's name? RJ something. It'll come back to me. Luigi's roommate in the commune. And RJ strikes you also as a liker of guys. And he shared on Fox that he introduced Ted Kaczynski to Luigi not long ago. So Luigi's out there in Hawaii. He's surfing. He's having fun. Gets into an accident with the surfboard. Needs a surgery on his back. Gets pins in his back. And you can see he can move around. You saw him get manhandled by a female sheriff as he was being taken into the courthouse. And I guess it's somewhere around Altoona, PA. And manhandled as he's screaming out, "You are insulting the American people's intelligence." This guy doesn't know what he's talking about. He didn't like the outcome of his surgery. There was some maybe notion that he can't claim that he can't quite have sex as much or as often as he would like. He's very angry about that. And then it would seem at least, he gave no time to becoming some kind of a revolutionary. He was just in this book club with his buddies in the commune, whatever you want to call it, in Hawaii, and got introduced to Ted Kaczynski. And the next thing you know, he disappears. And he's gone off the map. His mother even files a missing persons report. Then he shows up in New York City and shoots Brian Thompson, CEO of United Health, in the back. Very brave, by the way. Shoot him in the back several times with a firearm that they're saying either the whole thing was 3D printed or at least the suppressor for it was 3D printed. We had a speculation here that it was a well rod from the UK. There was more speculation about it being a specific type of weapon used on farms. But this guy, the genius, decides after he leaves that he's going to keep the murder weapon on him, that he's going to keep the IDs that he used at the hostel in New York and elsewhere while he was in the process of committing this murder. Dumb, obviously dumb. So dumb that some of the girls coming to his defense of both sexes said, "Oh, well, he obviously wanted to get caught." If he wanted to get caught, he would have gone to the police station and said, "Here I am. I did it. Here's my manifesto of 200 some odd words." What a joke. This guy is a total abject loser. He is a total loser from start to finish. And this is not a comment on you. You all know that I'm totally 100% opposed to these mortal gods made out of mountains of money. The system is obviously garbage, where you can have people that live as mortal gods and then other hardworking, and I'm talking about like the deserving, hardworking, poor, middle class, lower middle class, whatever you want to call them in the world. And there's nothing they can do to get by. They have to buy junk food because it's the cheapest. They have to, everything has to, because that's all they can afford. They spend their days working their asses off. So the system is obviously shit. But this guy doesn't even know. He even says in his manifesto that he can't really speak on the topic. So what ended up actually happening? Is it just, it's possible, is it just that this was just some baby and coddled rich kid, kind of like Richard Spencer, with a trust fund, and has an accident, and they perform surgery on him, but he doesn't like how it ended up. And he's imagining that he could have better surgeries, and if the health insurance system would just give everything away free, he could have better surgeries, and then he would be able to whatever it is that he does as often as he would like instead of irregularly. So he takes to drugs. He was researching things like mushrooms and what else was some other drug as well. Researching these drugs. Was he using them? His friend, Martin is his last name. R.J. Martin. I think that's what it is. Martin, definitely the last name. And was asked if he was on drugs regularly. Maybe he had a break, but the guy wouldn't answer. So, not that I saw, whatever. You're living with him in the commune. This is the anti-white hero. So did Did he just decide, don't like how I'm going to throw the biggest tantrum imaginable and I'm going to go and murder the CEO? Now, we don't know if he had United Healthcare as his insurance. At least I don't know. If one of you know, then you could tell me. But then he's going to go murder the guy? Possibly. But you know who else frequents congregations of disaffected people other than just disaffected people? Government agencies and quasi-government and private that are looking for people to carry out acts for them. Know that even though Mangina here might have been out of shape over the fact that he couldn't get any treatment he wanted, and so therefore he was just going to go murder to make a piss poor statement with this manifesto, this joke of a manifesto. For him, it might have been about that. But for maybe people, if he was working with anybody else, there was a different agenda. Brian Thompson is under investigation for insider trading. He's close, or was close, as I've read, with Nancy Pelosi, or his company and the work he does with Nancy Pelosi. We also have the phenomenon of a new administration coming in that want to clean up the garbage, and the rats are getting nervous. And we know that health insurance, there's a lot of garbage. When you net in the scores of billions of profit a year, there's a lot going on there that is criminal, unfair, unethical, immoral. So there could have been a different agenda if there were people helping him out, because it's kind of odd to go from Hawaii and to come back to the continental United States, obtain a weapon, a silencer, multiple fake IDs, and know exactly where Brian Thompson is going to be that exact morning. Challenging, not impossible, but definitely challenging, especially for somebody as capricious as Mangina here, it would seem, at least. Not a genius. After murdering Brian Thompson, rides right off, keeps the belongings with him that could end up getting him killed if he's caught out in public. He didn't say anything about wanting to die for this cause. So if he wanted to be caught, he would have gone to a police station. But instead, he was on the run in the same clothing with the firearm, with the fake IDs he used. The anti-whites, what's really pertinent for us is that the anti-whites are celebrating this because Mangina looks like that. And Brian Thompson, I don't know, do they have his picture here? Brian Thompson looks like you know that he looks. That's why, that's really when it comes down to it, that's what they're celebrating. You remember the primary motivator of an anti-white is jealousy and envy. Those are the primary motivators. But then secondary motivators creep in, like lust and rapine, financial reward, empowerment. And so destroying the white man, especially the wealthy at the top of a company, in their delusional minds, equates to getting that much closer to the financial reward of destroying the white man's capitalism. If Mangina here looked more like Brian Thompson, and Brian Thompson looked more like any run-of-the-mill non-white person, the anti-whites would not be celebrating this. Carried a handwritten manifesto of grievances against the industry, police said Tuesday, giving a possible motive. Luigi Mangione, or Mangione, 26, yelled and struggled with officers as he was led into court in Pennsylvania, where wearing an orange jumpsuit. I wouldn't be surprised now. I know I've seen all these videos with a lot of anti-white females, and they're donning the attire of Mangina on the run. So I wouldn't be surprised now if they're suddenly donning the orange jumpsuit. Yelled and struggled with officers as he was led into court in Pennsylvania wearing an orange jumpsuit. He is accused of murdering United Healthcare chief executive Brian Thompson on a Manhattan street last week, triggering a nationwide manhunt that ended Monday when he was recognized at McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Mangina fought his extradition to New York, a complaint which Blair County prosecutor Peter Weeks described as creating more hoops to jump through, and a judge denied him bail as the process continues. Kinney said Mangina just decried how the U.S. healthcare system is among the most expensive in the world, and yet the country has a lower life expectancy than other developed nations. Of course, he's not controlling for everything else in that. I mean, this is your typical anti-white bullshit. It's just like the health insurance is the benefits, the health system, best in the world. But yet Americans are dying at this, are totally ignoring all of these other factors, disease, race, what people are eating. Just ignore all of that. I think probably for Mangina, it was a tantrum. It was just an anti-white, coddled baby tantrum. And if he was acting alone, then that's all it was. But probably, or at least there's a possibility, that he was being helped by people who had a different agenda but pretended that they shared his agenda. Police have not confirmed reports the words delay and deny, language used by insurers to reject claims, were written on bullet casings found at the scene. Suspect was shaking. So I want you to imagine, and I'll read this, guys. It's so short, I'll read it to you. Let me put that up on the screen. His manifesto. But I want you to see the future for the white race, where gunning down white people is applauded from coast to coast. Who was gunned down that day? Was it the capitalists? Was it the insurance companies? You're not taking down capitalism, killing some executive. You're not taking down the insurance companies, killing some executive. The white race was attacked that day. And the celebration of the murder is a sick, demented, anti-white, human sacrificial celebration of killing the white race. This is what he wrote on a handwritten letter. How convenient he starts out this way. Very strange, I think. To the feds, I'll keep this short because I do respect what you do for our country. This, in all honesty, this note that he wrote as his manifesto, as I read through, maybe you'll be able to see, it really reads like a high school student who maybe, just got done watching as per the demand and requirement of some anti-white teacher at the high school, some doctor of anti-whiteism, The field doesn't matter, talking about how awful the white race is and Western civilization. To the feds, I'll keep this short because I do respect what you do for our country. To save you a lengthy investigation, I state plainly that I wasn't working with anyone. He can't be that dumb. He's no genius, but he's not that dumb to think that there's not going to be an investigation into who else he might have talked to, or that other people outside of the police responsible for the investigation are not going to investigate because he said, oh, I just did it on my own. All on my own. But it's also very curious to start off with that. Why would you think police wouldn't investigate? This was like who was the audience for that? Was it couldn't have been the police department or the FBI, because they're going to investigate, even if they're going to be covering up. So who was that sentence meant for? These sentences. Us. This was fairly trivial. Some element, so this being murdering this guy was fairly trivial. Some elementary social engineering, basic CAD, a lot of patience. The spiral notebook, if present, has some straggling notes and to-do lists that illuminate the gist of it. So he kept meticulous notes of how he acted on his own. Methinks the lady doth protest too much. My tech is pretty locked down because I work in engineering, so probably not much info there. I do apologize for any strife of traumas, but it had to be done. Frankly, these parasites simply had it coming. The parasites simply had it coming. A reminder, the U.S. has the #1 most expensive healthcare system in the world, yet we rank roughly 42nd in life expectancy. Therefore, white people have to die. United is the, and then it says indecipherable, I guess because his handwriting was garbage. United is the largest company in the U.S. by market cap, behind only Apple, Google, and Walmart. It has grown and grown. But has our life expectancy? Again, look at how stupid this is. Look at how midwit this is. Good memory can do good on test taking. Look how dumb this is. No, the reality is these, again, indecipherable, have simply gotten too powerful, and they continue to abuse our country for immense profit because the American public has allowed them to get away with it. Really, again, sounding like a high schooler wrote it. Obviously, he finishes, the problem is more complex, but I do not have space. And frankly, I do not pretend to be the most qualified person. I do not pretend to be the most qualified person to lay out the full argument. And yet you murdered someone? So no noble, no like righteous, no student of the problem who struggled and wrestled with it. No, not qualified to write on it. Just qualified enough to kill some random CEO. Happens to be a white guy. But many have illuminated the corruption and greed. Rosenthal has. So Rosenthal told you to kill, and more told you to kill Brian Thompson? I wonder, don't wonder for long, this is facetious. I wonder if people like Rosenthal are going to be investigated and potentially charged for instigating the murder of Brian Thompson. Because you know damn well and good that if anybody in the white sympathetic sphere, and it's already happened in the past, as much as has something read by someone who, not even in agreement, just read it, by somebody who produces content in the white sympathetic sphere, immediately there's an investigation. Immediately there's a conflation with murder. My guess is not gonna happen with Rosenthal or any other Jewish authors, because they're not white and the system is anti-white. Decades ago, so they wrote about it decades ago, and the problems simply remain. It is not an issue of awareness at this point, but clearly power games at play. Evidently, I am the first to face it with such brutal honesty. Sneaking up behind someone and shooting them in the back. A father, he's got kids and everything. And I'm talking about just generally. I'm totally opposed to the way that the health insurance companies treat the population. They should not be allowed in a white Western world where anti-whiteism, the victimizing our people by corrupt white anti-whites, isn't permitted. So the barriers have to come down to competition. That's what has to happen. And there has to be an entirely new system for regulating and observing. One that maybe just live stream everything to the internet so that there's no way there can be regulatory capture. And I guarantee you, it's within the genius of white people to figure out a system like that to make it work. But his brutal honesty on the writings of anti-whites spurs him without as much of a blink of investigation, not even being able to articulate the arguments that motivated him to murder a man, to head up to New York and magically find Brian Thompson, 7 a.m., heading from point A to point B, walking down the street, all by himself. So you got a lot of people talking, and I wanted to also say about this. You got a lot of people talking about this and spinning wild yarns for wild conspiracy's sake to bring themselves attention and clicks and follows and everything. Be cynical as all hell. You all in this community know that. Be cynical as all hell when it comes to this stuff. You're just getting into the weeds of it. That are the vast majority, if not all, are going to be fabricated. Keep your eyes on the things that we can know, and only one tick away from that to speculate and not move forward into the speculation. Detail, acknowledge, and edify on the anti-white narrative based on what we know, and let's move forward with the recapture of our destiny so that we can put an end to the exploitation. This is a great example, exploitation of the medical industry. It's a great example of dud dues, and just get rid of the dud dues and everything is fine. The Brian Thompsons are still going to be at the top. They're still going to use anti-whiteism to their benefit. Nothing is fixed by doing that. Nothing. The anti-whiteism begins and ends in us. We address this. We put an end to that moral imperative that's sliding the whole ship into the sea at this angle. And we were able to recapture our destiny. Luigi Mangione.